Hey folks, and welcome to another Absolutely Outdoors. Today we've got a special guest, Hunter Bowman. And Hunter is a local boy. We went to school here, and he's working on a ranch in Texas now. He's got a dream job, according to a lot of people in Phoenix City or a lot of people in Russell County. He's doing absolutely what he always wanted to do. Just a few minutes ago, we were getting a sound check, and I was, saying 1, 2, 3, 4, and I asked Hunter to give us a sound check, and he said, huh? And I said, what'd you have for breakfast? He starts telling me country ham and all. I'm sitting here thinking that cereal I had wasn't much. But anyway, we're glad to have you today. A little bit about Hunter. Like I said, he's from here, finished here locally in high school and went on and got his college degree at Troy.
Right.
And then he went to, what would you call it? What kind of school is that? Guide school?
Yeah, it's a guide school. Hunting guide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is what's impressive about Hunter to me is he went ahead and he went on to guide school after he got his degree. Because some people, they'll jump right out and go to guide school and then say, some years later, say, hey, that's not what I want to do. But Hunter was smart. He got his degree, and now he's on the way to doing whatever he wants to do, but he's always got that college degree to fall back on.
That's right.
And so I really recommend that. Even though you're doing what you think you're going to do for the rest of your life with that degree, if you happen to go in business, you would still know more than a person that didn't have the degree, and it would help you in that business. But anyway, I applaud you for that, because that's just smart. But anyway, enough about that. Tell me about yourself.
Well, I've always wanted to make a living playing in the woods. That's always something that's been a dream. I'm not an office guy, so the hunting industry, I've grew up hunting, and I really enjoy it. I get a big rush from especially bow hunting. That's something that's a big passion. So I did the guide school, it's about a month-long program.
Now, where is that?
This is in northwest Montana.
Ooh, okay.
In the corner, just south of the Canadian line.
Okay.
And
I was thinking about that driving in this morning. How did you ever find a school up there?
Well, I actually got in contact with a local Alabama outfitter, and he recommended that would be a good idea. The school, they have 2 or 3 different schools in the U.S., but this one, I thought that it looked the best online from what he told me. So I applied and got in. They only have a certain amount of slots, so you have to kind of get it in early. But I went, and it was a great experience. It was 4 weeks. They break it down into 1-week sections, so you do different things. You're not just doing one thing for the whole month.
Tell us kind of what you do there on the 1, 2, 4 weeks.
Okay, the first week it probably varies from class to class, but I went the second trip of the year, so it's kind of starting to warm up. So they started out with teaching you how to look at a saddle and clean a saddle, and just a lot of people didn't have any horse experience. And in Montana, you're hunting off horseback, so you have to have some horse experience. And so the first week, they make sure you know how to tie up a horse. They make sure you know how to put a halter on a horse and go get a horse out of a round pen, stuff like that. And once you get kind of your footing on that, you go into the second week and you kind of get some experience in packing. And so that's a whole nother animal.
Yeah.
When you're packing horses and mules, because you can't just take your stuff in on the backcountry, you have to pack all your stuff in. It's a lot of stuff.
Right.
So that's your second.
Everything you eat and drink, everything else is
Sleep
going to be on the back of that mule.
Everything. And
how far, when you go in, like you're on a hunting trip, how far into the woods do
their
you go?
base camp is just over 30 miles in the backcountry. So you got a base camp at 30 miles, you got your main camp, and then once you leave your base camp, you could be unlimited amount of time from there. So you could easily be 50 to 60 miles from nowhere, while you're hunting. So
does your phone doesn't work out there?
No phone. They do have Wi-Fi signal at their main camp, But once you leave camp on the horses, you're done with civilization. Your satellite phone is your only communication.
You do have that, though. Right?
The main guys, like if you're a hunting guide out there, you will have a satellite phone
Right.
to contact. So.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
But in your third week, you go into your hunting. A lot of guys don't have much experience even hunting. They go to guide school to get the basis for hunting. So you go over different calls. You go over different techniques of spot and stalk hunting, stand hunting. Every way that you could possibly think of killing an animal, you go over that week. And then the final week is like your classroom time. You've got your everybody kind of comes in this barn, and the guy that runs it is a very knowledgeable. He's been hunting his whole life,
Mm-hmm.
and he teaches you everything from bow hunting safety to health care, how to take care of yourself if you get hurt out there, even down to what type of pistols to use, what caliber is best for this and that, because you got bears, you got elk, you can't just take a small caliber gun out there. So you need to know some basics on, just being able to take care of yourself and make sure you're going to make it, because
Right.
if you get in trouble out in the backcountry, it can be
You're
a
in
rough
trouble.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's pretty much the guide school.
Well, now, we see on television a lot about bears attacking people. Is that very common?
It is. Glacier National Park is one of the pristine parks in northwest Montana. And while I was at guide school, they had a bear attack. Yeah, grizzly bear attack is your main concern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now you said grizzly bear, and I was watching the Outdoor Channel this morning. They were talking about a brown bear. Mm-hmm. What's the difference in a grizzly bear and a brown
Well, a
bear?
brown bear is there is actually not a lot of difference. There's a grizzly bear, brown bear, and your black bear. Out there, your grizzly bear is your more, I guess, you're more aggressive, but you can't hunt a grizzly bear in Montana. So, you got issues with that off the bat. Now, brown bear, I think you can hunt brown bear. I know you can hunt black bear. They do a lot of black bear hunting. But your grizzly bears are off limits. So, the populations, the hunters are actually trying to get something passed in the state to where they can start hunting them to kind of cut back on they enjoy hunting them, but that to also cut back on the attacks.
Okay.
So there's not much difference.
Okay. When you're out there, what type of tent do you sleep in?
It's a specific tent to Montana. It's called a Montana canvas. It's a very heavy-duty canvas tent that it's pretty expensive. A lot of people out there use them for actual housing. So for your everyday guy, you can't really afford one. But it's a very thick canvas, and you usually sleep you got a wood stove, and you can usually sleep like 6 to 8 people in one tent if you really had to. But they're very comfortable. You get a wood stove going, it's 30-something degrees outside, it keeps you warm, but it's just, not much insulation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. But it's not strong enough to withhold keep a bear out.
No, not to keep a bear out, no.
Oh man,
No.
I don't know that I can sleep very well.
Yeah.
I guess when you're real tired, you can sleep.
When
though,
you're tired,
going all day.
keep your ears open.
All right, we're gonna take just a break for a minute, and we'll be right back.
Families come in all sizes and shapes. Sometimes your friends are your family by choice, or sometimes you're just stuck with Uncle Charles. But what we know is that you want to protect the people that are close to you, but the flu can unravel everything. Your flu vaccine protects you and your family. No matter what draws your family together, protect yourself, protect your family. Everyone needs a flu vaccine.
Hey folks, welcome back. As I said a while ago, we're with Hunter Bowman, and Hunter is a hunter
That's right.
from Texas. Well, actually, he's from Phoenix City, like I said a while ago, but anyway, he's living in Texas. Now, tell us about the ranch that you live on in Texas.
Okay. It's 7,000 acres. It's owned by a former MLB star, and he bought it as a deer hunting specific ranch. He loves growing native deer, And we have two different separate pastures. We've got a 2,000-acre pasture and a 5,000-acre pasture.
2,000-acre pasture. We think of a
Yeah.
5-acre pasture around here.
Right.
Go ahead.
They call them, yeah, it's big. And they have them split separately. They do native deer in one pasture, which is just your native South Texas deer. And then they have one pasture where they do introduced genetics. So they bring in deer from deer breeders and they try to grow big deer, big deer. Your native deer will not grow but so far. Even if you have the right supplements, if you have the right feed, doesn't matter. A deer is only going to get so big on a native diet, and even a supplemental diet, deer can only get so big. So we do two separate pastures. As far as the living arrangements go, there's housing on a lot of these ranches for ranch hands because you're so far out from civilization that you actually
How
live.
far are you from town?
I'm 30 minutes from the closest town, but the closest town only has a couple of stores, handful of stores. So I'm about an hour from the nearest decent town, probably about an hour and 10 minutes from the closest Walmart.
Okay.
Yeah, so pretty good ways. Basically, to put it this way, if you got hurt out there, you got rattlesnake bit, you'd have to call in a helicopter to get you because you couldn't get to medical attention quick enough. But yeah, pretty good ways out. We have a big lodge. This is a picture of the lodge we have. It's a typical traditional South Texas lodge. It's 2 stories. It's brick. Everything down there is brick to hold up from the elements. It gets very hot, and so you need something that's going to last. Very nice lodge.
It is air conditioned, isn't it?
Air conditioned is a
Okay.
must.
A
That's
must.
right.
Okay.
And they have plenty of room for people to stay. You got your side quarters where people live, and then you've got your main lodge. It's pretty luxurious for a hunting lodge. It's got everything you would ever think of you'd need.
Yeah.
And then your housing, like I say, your ranch manager. There's ranch managers that run these ranches. The owners usually do not run them. They hire out a manager, and they have their own houses. And so we all live on the same piece of ground. We live, work, everything on the same property.
What do you do in the summertime when they're not hunting?
That's a good question. Some ranches actually still hunt some, but our ranch does not hunt during the summertime. We just business as usual. We fill feeders, keep the grounds maintained, grass cut, stuff like that. But the feeders are going year round, so it's a full-time deal. Just trying to keep feeders filled and try to keep everything going. This ranch that I'm on too has a water system that is unlike a lot of other ranches. It's miles of water lines throughout the entire pastures, both pastures, to keep deer well hydrated, keep the quail hydrated, and just fixing those water lines alone takes all kind of time during the summer.
You mentioned quail. Do you do quail hunts?
They do quail hunts. January and February, they're quail hunts, but
It's not our Bob White quail, though, is it?
right. They do have bob whites and they do have blues that they do hunt, but their blues are their main bread and butter. They really enjoy hunting blues.
Right.
And yeah, they do some quail hunting.
Okay. Getting back to the school that you went to in Wyoming.
Montana. Yeah.
Who teaches that?
It was a guy that actually spent many years in the corporate world. He was not even I think he did some guiding, but he was not your regular guy you would think of as an outfitter. Did many years in accounting and in the corporate world. He's a business-minded guy. He opened it or started it. I can't remember if he started it or just bought it out.
Yeah.
But he's been running it for about the last, 10 or 15 years. And his son runs the guide school now. And what they do at that guide school that's different than most guide schools is they actually bring in people from their specific career orientation. So if you've got a logging class, like you want to show people how to cut trees down, which we did, they actually bring in somebody in that field.
Really?
So they don't actually teach everything. They just teach you, like for instance, there they do the horses and the saddles and all that. Well, they have all that on hand.
Right.
But the logging, like when we had the guy come in and teach us how to, cut a tree down properly and, how to use a crosscut saw, well, they don't have those things on hand. So they bring in people from the outside that have that experience. So it's that was a very interesting part because you get to hear other people's ideas instead of the same guys. But they also have a manager, just like the ranch I'm on in South Texas. They have a guy coming in to kind of oversee everything, make sure that everything's working like it's supposed to, make sure we're learning what we're supposed to be learning. But they have year-round guides, which is different than South Texas because a lot of times you do a lot of ranch work. But these guys in Montana actually guide year-round, and they're there to help you. They're there all the time anyway, so it's just, it's nice to have them on hand to kind of teach you when you don't know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the owner is he was a guide. He's done some guiding, but he started the guide school because he felt like there was a need for a better school. So
you said something a few minutes ago about Montana and them being either you're a hunter or you're not.
Right.
And there's a big division there.
Right.
The people that don't want, I guess you'd say, tree huggers, that don't want anything killed, and then the hunters. And I didn't realize there was that big a division. I'd heard that, but I didn't realize there was really that big a division in there.
That was the first question that I asked. Matter of fact, on the way back from them picking me up from the airport, I asked the girl that was picking me up, and that was the first thing she said was, it's a very big division, and you wouldn't think that being out there because it's kind of man's country. Everybody thinks of the West as man's country, but she said it's a huge division, and the laws as far as your hunting laws go are affected by that. You can't hunt grizzly bears, and I'm sure there's other things that the hunters would like to have passed, but the other side, the folks who don't like to hunt, don't want that. So it's very interesting split. And supposedly it's almost 50-50.
Really?
Because they have a big issue with.
I didn't realize it was that much. I knew there was some opposition to hunting out there, but I didn't realize it was 50-50.
Yeah, it's enough to keep laws from being passed for hunters. So
really?
It's a very interesting environment. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, folks, we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work, show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up one finger if you're a man, women, 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
Hey folks, welcome back. We're with Hunter Bowman here, and he's going to tell us a little more about the hunting and everything that's going on in South Texas.
Yeah, the breeding is an interesting concept in South Texas. At our ranch, we have these things called DMP pens. It's a deer management pen. And what you do is it's a pen inside of a pen, 5,000 acre pasture and a 2,000 acre pasture. We have DMP.
Imagine a 5,000 acre pasture.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And a DMP pen is just a small, like, acre or 2 pen. And what they'll do is they'll take helicopters, because you can't access the brush by vehicle very easily. So they'll take a helicopter and they'll have a guy with a net gun, and they'll shoot that net onto your biggest deer or the deer that you want to breed, take him and fly him over and drop him in the DMP pen, and that deer will actually breed the does for you, and then they'll release them out to increase the genetic pool in their pasture. Because once you have, if you never do that and you have the same deer reproducing, your genetics become very bad over time. So you constantly have to introduce new genetics, and so it's a very interesting way they do that. But in South Texas, doing it by helicopter, it's the only way to really get an effective. It's the only way to get in the brush effectively to get the deer. But it's common down there. It's a neat, and they do the surveys before they do the capture. So I actually got to go on the survey this year.
So you fly over and pick out the deer,
Right.
and then you come back and
you get your
shoot the net over him.
Right. You come back, you gather where the animals are at, because you have to figure out where they're at. Game cameras work in South Texas, but they don't work as well as here. You really have to just go into their bedding areas and figure out where they are, and the helicopter is the only way to do that. So
Right.
they'll fly over and figure out which ones they want and come back the next time. And
Show us a picture of that big deer that you were talking about just a few minutes
yeah,
ago.
this is one that was shot just probably a week ago by one of the customers, and this is an example of a South Texas deer that people come want to shoot.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah, very big and very big industry. A lot of guys, you know, they want to shoot something with a lot of mass and a lot of points, and you can shoot pretty much whatever kind of animal you want to shoot, you can shoot down there.
Well, they really, you know, this thing is big business. I didn't really realize it was like that. I figured that somebody wanted to come hunt, you'd take them out in the Jeep, go out somewhere and shoot a deer. But y'all are in the raising the deer, breeding the deer, you know, making them big and fat.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know,
That's
just-
important. Yeah.
So, you know, all of this is really, I never really thought about it. Never really thought about it, but it's really interesting.
And
really interesting.
it's down there. It's a way of life. I mean, there's people that this is all they've done, ranching their whole entire life. And a lot of ranches actually have cattle on them along with the deer, because it kind of keeps the grass down. And but our ranch actually doesn't do any cattle. It's just specifically just for hunting,
Right.
and it works out. You know, it works well.
Show us that picture that you've got of the little deer that's coming up to the feeder. As a matter of fact, I saw a picture like that
Yeah.
on Facebook this morning. I think it was. It's a deer walked up to this hunter. It was a real small deer. I don't know if it was a doe or what. Mm-hmm. But it walked up to the hunter, and the hunter was sitting there, and he's filming it, and the little deer's just playing with him.
Yeah, yeah. And this is an example of what can happen on the feed run. We do a feed run every morning, so it's something that gets the deer used to people, gets them used to the same vehicle every day. So they do run off from time to time, but this one right here, it's pretty used to me, and it'll come right up to the trough and almost eat out.
Let me ask you this: when you do a feed run, how many pounds of feed do you put out a day?
A day is probably close to 100 pounds on the feed run, because we have to feed. We got 4 longhorn cattle in a pen, and we do feed those. They're not free-ranging cattle; they're just kind of pets, and so we do have to feed those. But between the longhorn cattle and the deer, it's about 100 pounds of protein a day, and then you also put in a corn line too. So we have a truck that, you know, you pull the lever and it lets the
drops
corn
it.
down,
Right.
put protein down. That way they have both at their disposal. And it actually, what it does is it brings the animals out of the brush so you can kill them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're in a blind and it's real thick brush, you can't see the animal if he's in the brush. So you have to get the animal out of the brush. And that feed run, that's its main purpose, is to get them accustomed to coming out.
Okay. Yeah, I've watched that on TV, and they do it on the road a lot.
That's
just
right. It is on the road. This is on the road. Yep.
You know, you see them coming out of the brush.
That's right. Yep.
But that's great.
And it's a long feed run. It's about a 10-mile stretch is what we do. So it's only in one pasture, and it's a 10-mile loop, in a 2,000 acre pasture. So we cover about half the pasture with that 10-mile loop.
Okay.
So we're bringing deer in from all over that 2,000 acres.
That's interesting. That is really interesting. Well, I've really enjoyed this today. I mean,
I have too.
you've told me a lot. I had no idea there was that much goes into this.
There's a lot of work.
We're real happy to have you. And when you come back, when will you be back in town?
Be back in town during Christmas, and then I'll go
Okay.
go start working again after first of the
well,
year.
maybe we can work up something else after Christmas, because I know
Sounds
that
good.
people are going to enjoy this, and I know that old Tebow's enjoying you being home because your mother's cooking.
That's right. She's taking good care of us.
And
That's
Will,
right.
Torgar and I'll come out and eat ham with you tomorrow.
There you go. That's right.
But anyway, for CTV, let me back up, cut that out. For cable TV of East Alabama, Channel 7, I'm Steve Abbott. This is Hunter Bowman. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next week.